Hogwarts Legacy is the biggest Harry Potter video game ever made, and is considered by many as being one of the most impressive recent AAA titles in general as of the making of this video. It was also released on PC, with the PC version of the game being, well, sketchy to say the least. Yet somehow they managed to port the game to the freaking Nintendo Switch. So as I put on my shades of shaders, I thought myself, if those wonderful developers can port their monster to the Switch, then there is no reason why it isn't possible to port it to the other type of low-end hardware. And if so, what does it take to achieve this? Well, that's what me and you are gonna find out. Meet my Lenovo Legion Y520, a gaming laptop capable of running anything nicely with high settings. Now, this might have been true in 2017 when I got this laptop, but it's 2025, and nowadays this thing, which is powered by the i7-7700HQ and the GTX 1050, is considered by the superior mandatory ray tracing master race to be an absolute piece of crap. But that's not all. The laptop's i7 has Intel HD graphics 630, which I'll be using instead of the GTX 1050 to run the game. Also, the game is known for having loading and stuttering issues on hard drives, but I've decided to ignore this by installing the game on my hard drive anyway. But before doing anything cool, I tried to run the game using the stock low settings and 1080p resolution with FSR2 Ultra performance on the Intel HD 630, which proved to be a major mistake. See, the game managed to load. It prepared the shaders, I mean it took 5 years, but it did prepare them eventually, and when it loaded into my save, I was getting like 12 FPS, which isn't great at all, but I've had even worse. However, as I was exploring the vastness of Hogwarts, the utilization of the shared VRAM went up and up until eventually it became maxed out. The game responded to this by just closing itself. No, seriously, the game just closed. Like that. Apparently 16GB of RAM aren't enough here. So yeah, while Hogwarts Legacy is unplayable in this state, at least we now know that the game launches on Intel HD graphics. So I dived into the endless portal of modding in the hopes of finding something that will help the poor Intel HD 630 until I reached Nexus mods. More specifically, this mod, which removes things like shadows, detailed grass and some other stuff. Now, from the mod, we're going to install 4 files: potato, scalability.ini, engine.ini and For the potato file and whatever that is, you need to extract both of the files from this folder, which you can access from the game directory. If you don't have the folder, just make it. For the scalability and engine.ini files, go to users, your Windows username, appdata, local, Phoenix or Hogwarts Legacy, saved, config, Windows no editor. Make a backup of the original files in case you want to undo the changes later. For the scalability.ini one, extract the modded file and replace the original one, and for the engine.ini one, open the original file, then open the modded one, copy the values from the very bottom, and in the original file, scroll all the way down to the bottom, click here and press enter twice and paste them right here. That's it. With this mod, the game now looks a lot more like a PS2 one. No, seriously, this looks worse than even the Nintendo Switch port. The shadows are now completely removed and all that detailed grass, well, that's also gone. But hey, the FPS are now decent and we're no longer running out of shared VRAM like we used to before. So all in all, pretty good, right? Well, yeah, about that. See, around like 1 to 3 minutes after loading into the game, what would happen is that the game would randomly decide to have a stroke and just freeze. Like that. If we open the task manager, we can see that the game is not responding and CPU utilization is really low, but the Intel HD630 is still at 100% utilization. So this might make it a little bit more frustrating to play with the game randomly freezing 1 minute after loading, you know. That means we need to go even lower.
But the big boat, aren't you going a bit too far? Like, couldn't you just buy a PS4 or an RX 580? They're super duper cheap, bro.
No! Grabbie finger! Wow! Jevon Rules 16, a guy from an island in the Caribbean who somehow possesses the ability to run huge games smoothly on things like the Intel UHD 630 and Intel HD 4600, has in the past made a super low-end config mod for Hogwarts Legacy. In a video, he featured his config mod showing us those beautiful next-gen RTX visuals on the Intel UHD 630. The link to the video which also has the link to his config files will be in the description. To install his config mod, just copy or move his modded config files, paste and replace. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Also, I will use his config files with the mod from Nexus Mods on top of that, so this should look very interesting indeed. Oh boy! Look at those textures! They look like a bunch of liquids or molten plastic at this point. Okay, if you guys don't want that terrible of visuals, what you could do is open the scalability.ini file that you replaced with the one made by the guy from that island and remove all the texture quality values, which will make the textures look more recognizable but still very low quality looking. But I have a different idea. I'm going to keep the potato textures, and in addition, I'm going to drop the FOV to as low as possible from the in-game settings, because who needs FOV anyway? We have Intel HD graphics after all. But that's not all. I'm going to open the display settings, go to advanced display settings, display adapter properties for display whatever, list all modes and choose 640x480, so lowering Windows 10's resolution to 640x480, which also lowers the game's resolution to this one. But remember that we're also using FSR 2 Ultra Performance, so the actual resolution that we will be playing Hogwarts Legacy at is 214x160. And yeah, this is it, friends. The definitive Hogwarts Legacy port for potato PCs has been achieved. Also, the lighting is a little bit weird and buggy. I told you this was going to be interesting, guys. Okay, we know that the graphics are now really bad, but what about the FPS? What the hell? It's a new 60 FPS experience basically, because this is a more demanding area. In fact, in some instances we can reach 60 FPS and even slightly more than that. We're in Hogsmeade here, by the way, which is usually the most demanding area and where I expected the FPS to drop to like the low to mid 30s or hell even below that, but nope, it's not happening, guys. Intel HD 630 can do more than that in Hogsmeade. Ironically, I saw the FPS drop to the 30s outside of Hogsmeade. Maybe it's because Hogsmeade is actually a CPU intensive area and not a GPU intensive one. Makes sense, as my i7-7700HQ struggles quite a bit there using the stock low settings despite being paired with a GTX 1050. During combat, FPS are mostly the same actually. It's a little bit stuttery, CPU usage does go quite high, still not enough to severely bottleneck the Intel HD 630 though, obviously. And when looking up at the sky, we get 69 FPS. Awesome. But guys, do you know that there is a way to get more than 69 FPS in Hogwarts Legacy on the Intel HD 630? But how is it even possible to get more than 69 FPS on Intel HD graphics, you might ask? With lossless scaling, of course. with the in-game FPS locked to 30 and using the revolutionary and highly advanced LSFG 3.1 frame generation technology with the multiplier set to 4, so 4 times the base FPS with the lowest floor scale and performance mode. I'm not using any scaling tab by the way, since we don't need to use it in this case. And before anybody claims that this is fakered on the hopes for my future, just show you guys that yes, I will be using the Intel HD630 and not the GTX 1050 for the frame gen, and well, see for yourselves guys. Now I had to record this externally using my phone because I couldn't really find a way to record those smooth like butter 30, 120 FPS using OBS, so this will have to do I guess. By the way, for those wondering how I'm able to record the worst scaling FPS using MSI Afterburner / River Tuner, because I've had some comments in the past telling me that I'm only showing the base FPS because you can't monitor the worst scaling FPS with Afterburner. Well, yes you actually can, and I will share the link to a tutorial showing how you can do so. Anyway, let's quickly do a little quest. And oh man, those Intel HD graphics. The power of the Intel HD630. Now for some reason the game decided to freeze and crash here, and that will happen occasionally, but let's just ignore those crashes. I mean, I got Hogwarts Legacy to run at 120 FPS on freaking Intel HD graphics. What else do you want? So yeah, I have nothing else to say really, other than this is one of the most insane things I've ever seen from Intel HD graphics. If you want, I guess you can also check my other lag fix videos from the little playlist on the screen. Otherwise, well, I wish you the best in life, you little magician.